Ok, buenos días a todos, la comunidad del mundo de cayuco y remadores en Panamá. Esto va a ser un verdadero reto para mí, hablar en inglés con estas grandes personas, próceres del mundo de cayuco. Voy a empezar mi inglés para todos ustedes. En estos momentos voy a introducirles a Jay y Llori, que son, digamos que los padres que me guiaron en el mundo de cayuco. So, like I said, Jay and Llori, this will be like a really challenge for me trying to say this interview in English. But well, that's one of the things that I learned from both of you also to speak English here. Every time that I try to speak with Jay or Llori, you always...
Jay mostly,
yeah, Jay mostly. Because you say like, you can speak in Spanish, but Jay say no. You want to speak with me, you have to learn how to speak English.
Un profesor de inglés.
Yeah, so well, we are here with a sad moment because we have to say goodbye from this house and all the things that attach you here in Panama. But the thing is that this is an idea that we have as a paddler, or that I have as a paddler, as a, I don't know, all those feelings that I feel with all the cayuco story and all the thing that you touch life, or a lot of life.
We built a family here. We
I
built
know.
a family of paddlers.
I know. So this is the way that I wanna return both of you all the things that you did for all many people that passed through your hands. So Jay and Llori, welcome to this interview of our new challenge that we're gonna have to talk more about all the story about cayucos, all the story about other water sport that will be related with canoeing. So Jay, how you started to do all the cayucos thing related as a sport?
Y la primera vez...
You can speak in English.
Oh, okay. Okay. I lived in Colón, in el lado Atlántico. And then I moved to Gamboa, and I met Llori, and everybody in Gamboa at that time had a cayuco, real small one, about 10 feet, 11.
Like a little piragua.
Yeah, so I had one made for me, and that's what started me paddling. I had a little canoe, 10, 12 feet long, that the Indians made up the river, and then I started paddling. And the more and more I paddled, the more and more I liked the sport, because it relaxed me, make me feel better.
At the age of like 11 or 12.
Yeah,
Wow.
11 or 12. I would go out and I'd just disappear. It didn't matter. It's something I always like to do.
But when you started, there's no like a rule or a starter age for compete?
Yeah, but
this is
it
before.
wasn't- This was before.
This was
It wasn't
before
very
the cayuco
organized
race.
back in those days in the 50s.
Okay.
So it wasn't organized like it is now. So we just did it. Every time I could get in a boat, or she was in a boat or whatever, we both go and paddle. And that's what started everything for me. And then my brother, he was in a race later on in his life, and then I said, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. So
Yeah. At the age of 14 is when
Yeah.
you could.
So
that's
you
when
met
you could paddle.
Llori as your age of 14?
no. How
no.
about 10?
He met, no.
11.
11
years.
when he moved from the Atlantic side. So we've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a year older than I am. We always get on that.
So when you started to paddle, you already met her, like.
Yeah, she lived up here and I lived down below, but
So the cayuco started your loving
yeah,
loving
kind of, in
story.
some other games, but
Ring Alivio, the hide and go seek thing outside,
yeah,
that thing, whatever.
Yeah, you can say
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have some question prepared for this interview, so
Okay.
I have to.
So you can read them.
Yeah, I have to read it because my English
You
is
have
not
to
very good
remember,
looking,
yeah.
and I don't have
No,
the
it's perfect.
remember mine right now. So you say that you started at the age of 14, but as an athlete, how you begin in this sport, like as an athlete to compete, for example?
Well, I was always in football and other sports, and then when that ended, there was not much to do. So I would see the people practicing or doing stuff like that, and then I finally decided, hey, I'm gonna do that next. And so that was the minute I started competing, that became something to me. There was a goal. I had to win. I had to win this race no matter what, and that's what I did. I just kept going and going and going until I started winning.
And what about you, Llori?
My whole cayuco history, obviously we were married, and I had watched him since he was 14 paddle in the cayuco race, and then he built my sister's boat. He built a boat for my sister, and his sister paddled in it as well. And so that kind of, he built that boat with his father for them, and he was also still paddling. So I knew that he could build boats. So when we were married in 1985, there were a group of women here that lived in Gamboa that were all very good friends of mine. And we all just kind of got together and said, hey, why don't we all go in the cayuco race? But there were 8 of us. And so we were like, wow, making an 8-person boat, that's gonna be a little difficult. So what we did was we went to the hydrographic branch, which we knew the people that kind of ran that, you know, they were old Canal Zone guys and stuff. And we asked them if there was any way that we could find a piragua that was up one of the rivers, and maybe we could rent it or we could buy it or, you know, whatever. And that all came to pass. They put one of these big ones. We rented it from this Indian up the river and put it on a big trailer. That thing was so heavy. We named it Tropical Delight, and there were 8 of us that paddled, and I sat in the front, and so I was the pacer, and it was incredible. It was really, really, really tough because the open category at that time was only 8 to 10 people. That was when the slave galley, and then they had the cardiac arrest, which was all men, and all of us women were very strong-minded. And we were like, well, we're not going to be stuck in the back here, you know. And so that's how my career as far as cayuco went. I loved it. It was such an
and girls were not allowed in the race in the beginning.
No girls. Not until 1976, I believe.
Wow.
Only the boys from 1954 to 76. That was the first group.
But before cayuco, Jay said that he started after he did football. Yeah. But before cayuco, you didn't do any sport?
No, because like I said, as Jay says, my mom, my dad and another man here in Gamboa, we were the very first people to ever get a recreational land lease. So una isla de recreo, solamente alquilando. I remember my dad telling me that it was like to alquilar this land, which was right here, was $12 a year. $12 a year. And so, like Jay said, we had like these little cayucos made by the Indians, and we would go everywhere in those. I mean, you could put 2 people in it, that was the most. But those things were fast and they were fun. And we, so I knew how to paddle, you know, way back when I was little. And then Jay came and then he had one. But no, I was involved in. I played basketball. I played volleyball. I was all involved in all those. But I never did the cayuco race. Never. I watched Jay paddle every year, but I never was in it myself. Even after '76, when girls could go in it and stuff, I was never in it until '85, and then that's when I paddled for the first time with those. There were 8 of us. Yeah.
Another question now. You see. There's a lot of story that we can hear about how you started, and well, these surprises. Throughout your career as an athlete, both of you, what has been the biggest challenge that you have faced, and how you did it overcome it?
For me, again, I think that a lot of that, you know, as a woman in a sport is intense as paddling. I don't care what you're paddling. You have to prepare your mind, and you have to talk to yourself, and you have to tell yourself, hey, listen, you know, I mean, if this is a goal, you know, just like losing weight. If a person just says, hey, listen, I'm going to lose 20 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever, it's a goal, and you have to be strong-minded. And I got all of that from him, because this guy has a will of iron. I mean, you know, and when you have an example that lives with you every single day, you know, you're going to gather a lot of, examples and also motivation. And so for me, in anything that I tried to do, it may not have been something that he was maybe involved in, or whatever, a sport or something. I always told myself there's an end game here. It's not just going to be like a start. There's always going to be a finish. And we always taught our boys, our two sons, never ever quit. Never quit. Never quit in a relationship, never quit on a sport, never quit on a teacher, never quit on good grades. It's an important thing. And so that just kind of integrates itself, into any kind of a practice thing. But a strong mind and good examples are the way to start. That's the biggest thing there. That's me. I don't know what he has to say.
And what about you?
No, in anything I did, I wanted to be the best. And that's you know me, you've known me for a long time.
Yeah.
That's what I always did, whether it was football, whether it was track, whether it was tennis, whether it was any sport that I participated in, I wanted to win. I wanted to do the best in that sport. So cayuco was just another thing after the sports I enjoyed ended for the year.
Because school ended, college and stuff.
Then I went into some other sport because I needed some kind of something to do, and it was cayuco. And so as soon as I got into cayuco, and then I became a person that believed in putting out 100% and winning, and the guys that I was always with were kind of like me. They were athletes that wanted to always win, and I started in many different boats, not boats of my own, but boats that other people owned, and then they asked me if I would paddle with them. So that was my goal. I said, man, well, I gotta win this thing somehow. And I finally did win it back in 1973. I got in a group of guys that I played football with, and we won the race.
In the nick.
In the nick. And then we just, it just kept going. I needed something else to do in my spare time. So then I built boats and paddles and trained kids. The kids, to me, are the most
important
thing that I got out of all of it. Yes, I could win a race, but could the kids that I worked with, could they win the race? And so then I spent all my time trying to figure out how to make young kids want to win this race, and that it was important. And that's what I did. I just got them. I said, do you want to win, or do you want to just play? If you want to play, you have to go play somewhere else in somebody's toy box. But if you want to win with me, then we're going to work hard, and we're going to put 100%. You don't put 100%, then I don't give you 100%.
That's something that I was talking with some friend of mine this week, actually. And now that you said that, never quit, that's a phrase that I always remind in my mind, that maybe that's the reason that I still pushing the sport of cayuco to being in their golden days that they used to have.
Yeah, exactly. They were golden days.
And now that you said also that if someone don't give you the 100%, you don't do that the same. It's the same as I do right now, because people have to understand also that I'm in my days in school, I'm not like a good athlete. I was just another guy in a school. But when I learned about cayuco since 2006, but then I met you in 2008, I started to know about how to become a real athlete and how to become a cayuquero. Because I said, all the people can paddle, but not all people can be a cayuquero, because to be a cayuquero is giving 100% of your body, your mind, and do more things over your limits. So the same phrase that you use is my phrase that I'm using at the gym.
That's your motto.
Yeah.
Your motto.
Well, like you said, Jay and Llori, you cannot measure a person to be a good an athlete in some sport, because I'm not a good basketball player. I'm not a good football player, but I like to play baseball or volleyball. But those are not sports related with school right now. But like I said, when I met cayuco in 2006, I started to feel that I have to do more things to complete the goal to crossing the ocean to ocean, for example. But then when I met you, like I said, I started to become an athlete, or like I said at the beginning, as a cayuquero. Do you have any kind of story about like how come to become like a cayuquero, for example?
Well, for me, is not all people are super athletes, but everybody can paddle. You don't have to be a superstar to paddle, but you have to have a heart of gold to be a good paddler. So most of the kids that I got were not super athletes. There were some soccer players, some never even participated in a sport.
Right.
But they came here and then they realized, wow, I can actually do this. You know, some kids never thought they could do it. Even their parents have told me that it's changed their whole life, that these kids came here and they learned. And, you know, that's what I looked at. I had kids that couldn't, like you said, couldn't dribble a ball, couldn't throw a pass, couldn't do nothing, but put them in a boat, como un cayuquero, and they were like, wow, what a change in their life. And they went home, guess what? They were proud.
Yeah.
Their parents call us up, hey, you have no idea how you've changed the life of my kids and stuff. That became our goal. That's why we had so many kids here. I know you remember in that room in there, sometimes there was 40 or 50 kids like you guys playing your games on the videos and all that stuff, dancing and doing that stuff, because it brought us all together. We had something in common.
Well, that's
something we could do together, and you didn't have to be a superhero.
Yeah.
See, that's where this part needs to come in for me. Having a very competitive older son, Jay built his boat and everything. He paddled for the first time when he was 14 years old and came in second in the race. And so he had high motivation. If he got second, he knew he could get first. And he was working every single day with his dad to become, you know, a champion, you know, winning his second time or coming in first. So anyway, the thing about that for me is that at that time, we only had 3 boats. We had 3 boats that Jay had built. One was a female, one was a co-ed, and one was the misconception.
And do you remember the name of those other 2 boats?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Spontaneous Combustion won records in the mixed category. Bruce Reed won records in the female category. There were many years in a row, enseguidas, de que we won all top 3 spots, Gamboa. And I think for me, the biggest part was letting those kids understand, first of all, that they had examples. Jay and I tried really, really hard to set really good examples for them in every means that we could. There were rules and regulations that we had here. They knew there was no bad language, none. None was allowed.
If you say something, you have to run.
You know,
The tower,
yeah,
the stairs.
you know, they had to pick up after themselves. You know, I'm not their little slave here or whatever, or their laundromat or whatever. But they knew all of these things, and I think because they had the demand for these rules, they did really well. But the thing to me was that they understood, even just having 12 kids, 3 boats, 12 kids, we were a family, and every boat supported every boat. There was no division whatsoever, and yet all you saw when you saw the boats from Diablo, Balboa, whatever, you saw a gran división.
Yeah.
There was like nobody was working with anybody else. There were like these little teeny groups, you know, and there was competition. Competition is great. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's what we live for. The problem is that there was no unity in camaraderie. The kids that paddled in some of the top boats wouldn't talk with some of the other kids that were in top boats. You know, you had girls that were little witches, you know, with other girl boats and stuff. And that was not allowed in Gamboa. Never. It was never allowed. If you could not get along with the other people, then you were gone. You know, we just said, bye-bye, you know, because we couldn't handle that. We had to run something that was efficient. If you can even imagine having 17 crews that Jay was coaching, mentoring, 17 crews here in Gamboa, and they came from everywhere because there was nobody else that was helping them. But all they had to do was bring their boat and say, hi, Senor Gibson, we heard that, you know, that you maybe work on boats. or that you maybe help people, and Jay was there. And if they showed him 100%, it didn't make a difference to him. Not only 17 boats, but we were paddling at the same time. I was cooking at the same time. We had tons of people that spent the night on the weekends. Our house was open, and because it was, that's why we have so many people that stay in touch with us. They want their kids to paddle, and that you cannot hope for anything better than that.
How many kids have come and don't even know how to use a tool?
Yeah.
And their fathers never taught them, and they never know, and they all had to learn how to use and master these tools. And that was the most fun I've ever had. Because watching kids trying to learn about engineering, all these things and stuff like that.
I have a lot of people also that in the gym that they don't know how to use a simple screw.
Yeah.
For example, I said, hey, you can screw that. What? I don't know how you call the cross screw and the other one is like
Phillips and the
standard.
Yeah, the standard. I say, hey, you have to do that. No, I never used that tool. I said, wow, that's super hard for me. But I remember that I learned also that from my dad as well. But here, I saw you a lot of the time fixing a boat, made paddlers, something like that, a paddle, sorry. So I said, I want to learn how to do a paddle. But then, at the beginning that I saw that, I was like, Jesus, it's super hard for me to do a paddle. But, I started in 2008, but I made my first paddle by my hands in 2017. And then I remember that I became here at your house and I showed you so proud about my paddle that I did. And you said, like, that's a crappy paddle.
No.
I said, like,
I would never do
Yeah, I know. That, because my paddle was with pine wood.
Yeah.
And you said, like, it's not the best way to make a paddle for compete because it's so heavy. And you said, well, you started to recommend how will be the woods that I have to use it, or what with the woods that I have to work it.
Help you build.
Yeah, you helped me to build it, and hey, I have the permission from you to make the laying paddle as well.
Yeah.
So I learned it. And now I know how to fix also a cayuco. Not the huge cracks, but I can fix some cayucos as well.
Butterflies do wonders.
Yeah.
Little butterflies, they do wonders.
Yeah, those butterflies too. But well, Jay, that you say also about the training. I remember that every person that wanna compete in Gamboa and be part of the G unit has to pass some tests. What was those tests that you make those kids do?
I think the biggest one that they all wanted to conquer was the hill, the microwave hill, to try to beat me up the microwave hill and beat me home. And then we had to go to Microwave Hill, run down to the playita, and all the golf course to the where the boats are kept, the marina, and then all the way back to the house. And so their biggest goal was to try to beat me until I got older, and then I couldn't keep up with them. So.
A kid in my gym said that you just get old. The people doesn't involve in their performance. It's just that you get old.
Yeah.
And I heard that. I say, hey man, you cannot talk like that. Sometimes the people can also performance better their stamina or something like that. Yeah. But yes, you are a reference in the cayuco race and also in all the sport related of what you do, because like I said, I don't know how old are you, but you are also strong of a lot of people. If you compare, you can paddle harder more than 3 hours in a row without stop. So like Lori said, she was living with a legend every day. So you are like a motivation to be a better athlete in what we do. For example, like I do, cayuco or Dragon Ball, kayaking for being an Olympic. That was so hard as well.
That was...
and that was fun as well. You have a lot of story about that. But
Jay was your coach.
I know. And I was just talking with the girls over in Peru. But I know that. But you taught me a lot to be an athlete and hard worker, because I remember, this is the story that I remember when I started to train for a kayak. I saw the two brothers, Felius, participating in that, and I was like, Jesus, I want to have the flag of Panama and compete outside of the country, but I don't have a visa to go to United States and compete in the New York Liberty Challenge, for example, but man, I have to paddle in another country and represent my country and blah, blah, blah. So then I saw the Felius paddling the kayak, and I said, hey, can I join to that team? And say, whoa, we have 8 months already paddling and blah, blah, blah. And said, whoa, can I or can I be or not in your team? And they say, well, you can, but it's super hard and different that's a cayuco.
For balance, for the balance.
The first challenge to be a kayaker was the balance. I have a funny video of you doing the when you have a good balance. You capsized that boat that day, but well, I took like 1 week or maybe less than that to grab the stability in that boat. But then I remember one day that I was trying to go so fast or trying to be like ahead with the Felius, and you become that day and say, hey, Beto, I'm not gonna say the word that you said because you have a particular word to describe a person that doesn't have the skills to do something.
Only once.
Yeah, when I say, and that day Jay told me like, hey, you know what? Go home, man. You cannot handle this kayak. And say, wow. That's a good way to say it. But I remember that day that I was completely devastated.
But there was an ulterior motive for him telling you.
I know. But then I was in my car going back to the city and saying, wow, I need to prepare myself mentally, and I need to do more effort in my body to be better in a kayak. And then that day, I don't know if I told you the story. That day, I run like 10 kilometers, and I try to do the more push-ups that I can do in a row. Then I try to do pull-ups and everything else. And I was like, you know what? I will show Jay that I can beat what he said that day. And 2 weeks after that, I remember that we received like a training from a coach in the United States that we have to make 10 kilometers, changing every 500 meters to be ahead in of the group of the kayak. Yep. Man, that was super tough all the way up to the bridge. But then Jay said, well, now you have to take 10 minutes for rest. Drink a lot of water because we have to come back. Beto, you have to start in the way back to the home and say, wow. Then I started and I said, like, no, this is my moment. This is my moment. I started to paddle so hard. Sorry, Felius, if you see this video, but I beat you for a long distance. Hey, I started to do that like boom, boom, boom. I remember that I have the GPS with me. I say, 500 meters, you have to go forward than
full speed.
Yeah, full speed. And no one showed up in front of me. I said, okay, I have to do another 500 meters. Boom, boom, boom. Now, Felius, you can come. The third time that I came ahead every time, I said, well, I heard that you were coming with the motorbike. Hey, Beto, stop. Those guys cannot catch you. They say, wow. Hey, when I started to going to see behind me, I was like this. And then I saw the Felius super behind me. I said, wow. And that day you said, like, that's the Beto that I met. I said, wow. Man, that day I felt super, happy because motivated because I remember and I have you say like aprendiz, aprendizaje.
You have an apprentice.
No, I learned something about that day.
Oh, okay.
Because you can take two options if someone tells you something that you told me that day. You can go to your house and cry all day and say, okay, I'm not good in this. Or take the harder option and do, hey, you know what? I can beat that thing. I can prove to that guy that I can be better in that thing. And that's the reason that I always have like a role model. No, but a role model from you because you never quit. And that's the same that this interview started. You said never quit, never quit, never quit. So that's something that was in my mind all the way.
It's so easy for people to quit. People quit every day and everything. They quit on marriages, they quit on jobs because it's too hard for them. The problem is the harder part is to stick with it. That is the hardest part. And the word that Jay used, I'm going to say it, it's wussy. He called him a wussy. And the thing about it is that Jay, it's just like it's to me. I remember when I started to compete with Jay. It was in 2003, and here I am, his wife. I never wanted to be the wife in the boat. Never. I wanted to be just as good as my position demanded me to be. That's what I saw from him, and that's what I was expecting of myself. And I can remember he never called me that, but he never gave me, hey, Jay, Llori, you did really good. And I waited for that. I waited for that every day after practice, when we'd come home and stuff and we'd sit down, I'd say, man, how did I do today? You did good. I'm waiting for something. Llori, you did great. Whatever. Never, ever, ever got it. And then one day I asked him, I said, you know what? I'm not expecting a compliment from you. I'm just like everybody else, I said, but I would like to know, if you think that I'm really achieving what you want me to achieve in that boat. And he told me this, I'll never forget this. He told me, Llori, if I don't call your name in the boat, you're doing good. If you do something really great, I'm going to tell you. So he said, you can take those two things and think about them and move on from there. He said, but I'm not going to tell you anything that is going to make you feel superior when we are all the exact same in the boat.
Yeah.
And I used to tell myself on these long practices, I would be so tired, but I would look at that man, and I would think about him and I'd say, that guy would go to the ends of the earth to make sure that he finished anything. Why am I ever going to do anything less? I'm going to be terrible if I do that. And in this one sup race, I never wanted to do sup racing, never. But cayuco was over for him. He was just training people. He didn't want to paddle in the Misconception anymore, just with me. We went many times, Jay and I, in the Misconception paddled all the way up to the Chagres River Bridge, all the way up there, just the two of us. And I remember this sup race. I got to the top. We had to do 2 laps. I got to the top, coming down for the next one. The wind was so hard. And I hear at the playita, aquí viene el viejito Gibson, like that. And I, at the top, and I'm like, I was just telling myself, Llori, you're just make an excuse. You don't have to do the second one. And I heard that, and I said, there's no way I'm going to come across that line and quit when my husband is my example, and everybody knows that. And I finished that daggone race. I'm going to tell you that right now. That is when I came in. I came in first in that race, in the women's. There were only like maybe 5 women or something like that. But if I had quit,
that's still there, yeah.
But if I quit,
winning.
That was a hard race.
That was a really hard race. But that's what I'm saying. When you have somebody that is a good example, and Beto, you have become such a wonderful example. Jay and I basically depend on you, because not being here on a regular basis.
Nobody wants to do the work he's doing.
No. And for a lot of it, I mean, some of it, as the years went on, remember, the kids paid Jay and I nothing. We never expected any money from any of them, because exactly, the dedication was our payment, and their winning was their payment. But all the money we had to get money somehow. So we sold T-shirts and we raised money, and that's how we paid our bills. But see, as it came a little time over the years, you'd get Panamanian crews that would come and they'd say, Mr. Gibson, what can we pay you to fix our boat? And Jay would say, you're not going to pay me anything. Just get the materials and be here, and you're going to be working with us on the boat, because I'm not going to sit here and do the boat for you. I'm not a taller. I'm here to help you, but I'm going to have you work with me. And that's when the money started to come in, where the kids just thought immediately that they could buy your help, or they could buy this, or they could buy that. And that's what ruined, and I'm telling you right now, ruined the race. Money ruined the race. My opinion.
But I remember one thing that I always said, Jay, I want to learn how to fix a boat. Okay, bring the boat and bring the materials. And I said, Jay, when you going to work it that? Tomorrow morning, come here. And when I come the next day, the boat is repaired. I said, Jay, you didn't wait for me. I said, oh, I don't have to waste my time. I have to work in that thing, and you can paddle. I said, yeah, but I want to learn. I didn't want you to repair my boat. I want to learn. That happened also in the first time that I asked you to teach me how to do like the paddles, but you did the sense. Well, I don't know, man. So then I just have to figure out.
But there was explanation.
No, I know. He
There was
explained me. He
explanation
explained me
what
that.
he did and everything.
Yeah, but then I have to support myself with watching some videos on YouTube as well. But then, well,
That's how you learned a lot.
Yeah, I know. But you have to also sometimes wait for people to help you, man. Like we are doing today, and all these days working with you, trying to help you here.
But Beto, if you learned nothing over all the years, you have to understand the man is very short on patience. He's very short on patience. You know, he'll explain something a couple of times, but if the kid still doesn't get it, he will say, okay, you know what? I'm not explaining anymore. There's 5 people over there that understand exactly what I'm explaining to you. Have them tell you.
Right.
And that's how the family worked. Everybody had to help everybody else because Jay could not be at every single boat. He couldn't be at every single boat. But there were enough people that knew the information that could help that other person. When it came down to it, Jay would do the final analyzing or you know, whatever. But
I had, you don't remember the group, I had the 4 boys that came to me and didn't know what a screwdriver was or how to make a drill
that was Raul Mendez.
I didn't name him. And
I did.
it was the most fun. The most fun I've had in a lot of years is watching college kids not understand how a drill with a screwdriver bit worked. And then we had classes, and they would come and teach
tutorials with Jay.
Yeah, classes, and they would go home and then they get to their father and they would go, Papa, come here. Ask me a question about any of those tools. And that's what they would do. And they learned.
Yeah.
And they learned and they taught each other and they worked with each other. And that was the whole thing about the boats, dedicating to each other. Because if you have one slack person, you know that's going to cause a problem in that boat. And that's why you usually, not your best friends, because sometimes your best friends are not what you need in your boat.
No.
You need people that think the same way you do.
Yes, that's the word that I use. Like, even the weakest link make a strong chain.
That's right.
That's a phrase that I use.
That's
so,
a good one. Yeah.
Jay and Llori, how many boats you remember that you have built?
32.
32?
More.
32. And what was your, like, I don't know. People know the misconception was your baby boat.
Yeah.
Taking that out from the 32 boats that you built, what was the most favorite boat that you built?
Well, it had to be the Mist, but
I would say the premonition.
The Premo?
Premonition.
I would say because it has no backs, so the kids cannot lean backwards. It's and the seats are higher.
You see a boat, and there's something about a boat that you look at and you can see, hey, that's going to be a fast, good boat. And then the boat is only part of it. I can build you the best boat in the world, but if you don't have a crew that's going to want to be the best in the world, the boat's not going to do it. The boat only does part of it. It'll take you there, but you got to be the people that direct it on how to get there.
And Jay and Llori, another question. What would be like your most memorable situation in a competition? Because I remember the day that the tire hit you.
That's
in the
mine.
thing. That's your, okay.
That's mine.
And Llori, what would be yours?
Mine would probably be just like in succession. Jay built the Misbehaving for me with 3 women that lived in Gamboa here. And I had already done the lake many times and gotten records in record times, beating male boats. As a female in a 3-man, with the 4 of us, in the sudden impact. Mm-hmm. So I'd already done the lake. And so I told Jay, he said, all right, we're going to do the lake one time. And I'm like, oh no, Jay, I don't want to do the lake. I don't want to do the lake. I've already done it. I know where to go. He's like, Llori, you're going to do the lake one time with your female crew. One time. And I'm going to be out there, but I'm not going to be by you. I've already told you what to do. As a stern person, as sitting in the stern, you know what to do. I've already talked to you about olas. I've talked to you about corriente, all of these different things, the wind, all of those things that you need to help your boat move, as well as the girls in the boat. And so he told me, remember what your goal is. I told you I built the boat for your goal to be to break that entire barrier 3 hours. 3 hours. Women across the lake in a traditional boat, 3 hours. And so I was like, so we worked really hard. And our times were really good. They're getting better and better. So this one lake, I remember, Jay was way ahead of us. And he'd say, find me, and I want you to go right straight to where I am. So we did, and when we made the points. When we came across the finish line, on the practice, we were 3 hours and 4 seconds. 3 hours and 4 seconds. So we knew that if we did what we just did, and this was, I think we did that a week and a half before the race, we knew that we could break that 3 hours. And the day of the race, the actual race, we did a 2:48.
Like
And
12
that was
minutes
huh?
less than your practice.
Actually, wait, it wasn't 2:48. I think it was a 2:58. The 2:58.
Oh.
It was a 2:58. A 2:58. And of course, it broke all the records of the girls' boats, because girls' boats were only like maybe, I think at that time, maybe 320 or 316.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my memorable moment when we got on that practice and we got that 3 hours and 4 seconds. We knew without a doubt that we could break the three hours, and that was a tremendous moment for me. I mean, for Jay, he was super proud of all of us, of course, because that's what his goal that he wanted us to set in our minds.
In a traditional boat to be...
In a traditional boat. No las laminadas, because the laminated boats afterwards, mucha más aliviana, whatever. It doesn't mean that the girls didn't paddle hard. They did. But they had such an advantage by having lighter boats. Refined, whatever. This was a traditional boat. So this boat weighed 280 pounds. Jay weighed it. It was like 280, 285. And so, good strength, and strong minds. And I tell you, I caught every wave, I caught every current that I possibly could to get us there. And it was
Yeah.
just amazing, just so
I
amazing.
can't imagine that. What about you, Jay?
That was mine, the tire trip. We were racing, we'd already won for 2 years, and then we were racing teams from the United States. And some of my old friend kids
First day
brought
of the
their
race.
team as day one. And we took off around the pier, as you know it. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna take this one short, make
No,
a good cut at it.
He took short because he did not want to hit the
I didn't want to
stern
hit
of
the
another
other-
boat
the other
and make the boat
crews.
turn. He didn't want to touch anybody and make them do bad.
Yeah, so we came around the thing, running really hard. Well, the people up front ducked, and that big tire hit me in the chest.
Took Jay on the back of the
Broke
canvas,
the
out
back,
of the boat.
threw me out the boat.
Boat swamped right there at the pier.
But guess what? We found our paddles. The boat was broken, but we didn't care. We put everybody back in the boat.
Hey,
We
both
took off. Broke the back of the thing because it
because
went right into my back.
Yeah.
And then we took off and we passed everybody that was in our group.
I remember that
We
day.
got first.
And the
You were
people-
having like a
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
a big mark here.
Yeah, in his face too. But
It hit my face.
the thing that was interesting there was when we came in, we passed all these people that had passed us because we were swamped. They were like, "What? The misconception? Oh my God, the what? They're swamped." They didn't know what had happened. So anyway, we get to the very end, where everybody is and stuff, and there were just a couple of, maybe a couple of boats. We beat almost everybody except for maybe 2 or 3 boats.
Top 3 boats were in already.
Everybody, when they came in, they came running to us. They said, "Oh my gosh, you guys are like the most amazing people we've ever seen. You were swamped at the pier and you beat every single person here." And we just laughed and we were like, oh my gosh. But I will tell you, between Jay and I, the most memorable race of all time for us was 2014, because we had three generations in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
We had our son who was a champion, and we had our 14-year-old granddaughter. That was so amazing. And we did so good.
That was a bad year.
You were
That
paddling
was-
in the misconception too.
Yeah,
Paddling
it was
in
a
the-
bad year.
so-
Your baby that you built,
Yep.
and all your babies too.
Mom, Dad, first son, and his daughter. 3 generations in that boat. It was just amazing.
And
Amazing.
how was that day, that
The
competition?
roughest lake that we've
Ever.
ever been
I heard
to.
that.
It was so rough, it was unbelievable.
It was
Not many boats did any real good times.
I heard that a lot of people didn't pass the banana channel
No,
that
No.
Saturday
it was so
too.
No.
bad, and we
We-
just fought it the whole way. And then when we got to Tabernia and Mimo Problemas, you know, the olas, and wow. Some of them were so
really
big,
tough.
we were surfing on top, and then we...
But Jay just kept saying, don't swamp the boat. I don't care if the boat is filled all the way up here. Lori, Kaylee, bail. We were in the middle.
They bailed.
Bail. Lee in the front,
Almost
Jay in the
40
back,
minutes.
keeping the boat going.
So you suffer also the
Oh
water
yeah,
inside
the
of
water
was
kept coming
going
in, but we
in,
kept
and they
bailing
were
because we didn't
bailing
want to
like
go over.
Lee and I were... Lee was keeping the pace up front, and I was keeping the boat into the right direction. And we came out of Banana
Super
Channel,
hard.
drained it, and then we just started passing boat after
And
boat
we were exhausted.
until we got to Tabernia. And then Tabernia down underneath again.
No, I can't imagine
That was an incredible
and,
race.
And how was your what was the prize that you got there in that time? You came third,
I think we
second,
were
or first?
third or second. We weren't first.
No, we weren't first. I think we were third in the mixed category. I think something like third in the mixed category or something.
Yeah.
We did really well.
Yeah.
We were a
we
true
did super
co-ed.
well. But see, that's where
Nobody else
Kaylee
was co-ed.
that's where Kaylee became super competitive because
Yeah.
she had come down a week before. Kaylee, our granddaughter, she came down a week before the race, and she was paddling every day, you know, with us and her dad as well. And so we only had like a week of practice, but she'd been running in the States and, you know, some of that. And she had come down during her spring break and had been in the boat for the first time in
We
that
had to
regard.
teach her how to even get in it
But
before.
I tell you, that first day when, you know, when we came across the finish line, she goes, man, we got to do better. We got to do better. Papa, we got to do better, you know? And of course, you know, that's her father. Her
The
father,
granddaughter.
Lee, was, you know, we got to do better. You know, we got to do better than this, you know, and stuff. And so, like I said, that's the competitive spirit, boy. It doesn't die. You just pass it on to the next generation.
But you talk about another memorable moment in your life is I ended up having to paint boats. No, I don't like to do that.
Yes.
But I had 7 crews come to me and ask me to paint their boats
Besides our boats.
besides ours. And so I said,
We couldn't say
I'll
no.
do what I could do. And I painted 7 boats in that day. And then the race was the following day. And when I got over there, because of the gases and I had everything
He
on.
had
you're
everything
supposed
on.
to
He
have.
had the rebreather. He
But
had
I
all the
was one of
clothes.
those arrogant painters, you know, take off. Oh, look how good I did, huh? Yeah, and then the chemicals.
Yeah.
And then the first day, I nearly had a heart problem.
Wow.
So they put me in the ambulance, and then they said, you can't race tomorrow.
We won.
We won the race,
We
but that
won.
wasn't the point. Then
But
they said,
we
you're
ran
not,
up to the ambulance because
you're
he
not
couldn't
going to
breathe.
paddle tomorrow. They checked my levels and said it's too dangerous. So the next day, I got over early. I went over early because they wanted me to see the doctor. And so I got over there, and then Lori and them came over in another boat, and they said, well, what'd the doctor say? I said, he says I can't paddle, but he doesn't know what he's doing, so I'm going to paddle anyway.
And I had already talked to Renee and Wendell, and I had said, listen, when we
Yeah.
get over there, we're not paddling today. And they both agreed because it was so scary the first day, you know, and the doctor, we'd seen him right afterwards too on that first day. And so I knew I was going to have to fight with him over there, and I was prepared. And he came to me, and he was like, he had tears and stuff like that. He said, Lori, the doctor says I can't paddle. I said, fine, we're not paddling. I've already talked to Renee and Wendell. We're not paddling. He goes, no, Lori, we're in first place. I can get you through Banana Channel. That's what he tells me. I can get you through Banana Channel. You guys can do it. We've practiced hard enough. We can do that. I can do that. And I said, no,
if you
Jay,
come out
we're
of
not
Banana
paddling.
Channel first, I knew we could win. So that's our goal. So we made it out of Banana
I
Channel.
was so mad at him.
First place. I made it to Tabernia. Then I started getting
Yeah.
lack of oxygen.
Mm.
And so they would tell me stop paddling, but Lori and Wendell kept
I was
saying,
screaming at him. Don't
Wendell was
paddle.
saying like Lori misinterpreted
Yeah.
and said Wendell was saying, don't paddle, Jay, and Lori saying, don't paddle, Jay. Stop it, Wendell. Stop telling him to paddle. And I would just keep paddling anyway.
And the
And when
doctor,
we got to Gamboa, that's when I lost, and I went out. That was just
he
too long.
passed out. He passed out straight in the
And
back
then
of
the
the boat.
doctor thought I had
A heart attack
heart
or
attack,
something.
so he started doing.
But I have to tell you,
It wasn't
that
hard.
last stretch, we were in first place. And Wendell's brother-in-law was in the other boat that was right by us in the snafu.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is that we had battled and battled and battled to stay in front of them. Jay did. Jay, because all of us were working really hard, but Jay
They
knew.
beat us by 18 seconds.
By 18 seconds. They beat us by 18 seconds. And Jay collapsed in the boat. The doctor jumped onto, they grabbed Jay out of the boat. They put him on the thing, and the guy got on top of Jay. He thought that I guess he couldn't get a pulse or something. And he went boom on Jay's chest. And then I was in the boat crying and everything. And they take him off in the ambulance. We don't even know where he goes. And then they say, oh, they're going to the National Hospital. So the three of us get in the car all wet and everything. And we get there, we get there like 45 minutes after the ambulance gets there. And I go right away to the emergency, and I said, I'm looking for my husband, Jay Gibson, whatever. Oh, he's in exam room, whatever. So he's talking to the doctor, and the doctor says to him, Jay, let me explain something to you. He said, the levels of potassium in your body right now are more than what it takes to stop a heart when people are doing heart surgery.
Wow.
And he said, and so here's Jay on the bed. Here's Jay, IVs, whatever like this. Here's Jay on the bed, and he says, and Renee and Wendell can tell you, we're all three there. Wendell was like, this is Wendell, because Wendell, he can't handle sick people. I hear Jay say, so what do I have to do to paddle tomorrow? And the doctor goes, what? He goes, you're not paddling tomorrow. And Jay goes, what do I have to do to paddle tomorrow? And the doctor says this, you need to drink water every 5 minutes, all night long, to flush the potassium out. You need to do that. And Jay goes, okay. And I was like, you're not paddling tomorrow. It's very simple. You're not paddling tomorrow. And the whole night I maintained he was not paddling. Renee and Wendell, they knew that he wasn't going to paddle, whatever like that. He wakes up in the morning earlier than, of course, everybody else, because probably he did not sleep the whole night. And he goes,
drinking water every 5 minutes.
He goes,
oh, I did.
He goes, Llori, I'm paddling. And I said, no, you're not paddling.
I felt good.
You're not paddling. And,
not real good.
And so when he went down to see the doctor checked his heart rate. He checked that. His breathing was still not good at all. And remember, they did tests when he was in the hospital. Well, we didn't know what the tests were except for the potassium. So when he gets there to the race, Dr. PT was there, and he checks Jay out, and he goes, Jay, I want you to wear a heart monitor. And every time you hear it beep, you have to stop paddling. Now we have the cut. We're going 3 different races, and we did it all. We finished the race. And I think we won.
No, we did win.
We beat Wendell's.
In your category.
In our category.
Wow. Well, Jay and Llori, this is a good interview and a lot of story because,
you
have a lot of things.
You want out.
No, you have a lot of things to say to people, and I want to just to have like a final message to
a recap.
But for all young members that will can enjoy or join to the sport, for example, and also for all the kiddos that pass through your hands, like me and all the people in my generation and the last people that you touch or teach them to how to paddle, for example, what would be your final message for all of them?
For me, we miss all of them. They're family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. But the thing I think that I would say is that when you think you can't do something, if you never try, you're never going to know. And you're missing something that's huge in your life. And to be able to paddle, the weakest person can become strong. The littlest person can be a big person in a boat. All they have to do is just get in a boat. Because you know something, the race that Jay and I did up in New York, 3-day race. And Jay did a 70-miler in one day as well, up in New York. There were people in those canoes that were 82 and 83 years old. You can paddle all of your life if you paddle. You can paddle all your life. There's many sports you have to give up at certain ages because you just can't, your body can't take it. Yeah. But you know what? You can paddle all of your life. All of your life.
So much in tune to nature. Too.
Yeah, it's just so.
The thing about me
and
is
the camaraderie.
Out. I love being out and I like being in front, but the being out there and enjoying what God's given you the blessing to do is something that.
Yeah, feel your emotion and everything.
Yeah. No, it
and
does.
Like psychology said that the water has a magical effect in your body and your mind. So this is the thing that I rescue about a word that some person told me. Being outside, paddling a cayuco, a canoe, a kayak, a sub, dragon boat, everything related with water is so magical. Also, when you receive the first lights from the sun,
Yep.
those are a magical moments. And I wanna give you, from all the people that I'm pretty sure that they feel the same, that we really love everything that you did for us, and we just wanna tell you that we really thank you for all the years that you have become our family and push through all our challenges that we have to make in their life, in our life, in Cayuco as well, and in other sport that we already participate. And I want to tell you one thing, Jay. I want to do the race with you in the 70 kilometers or 70 miles or 90 miles. I don't know, but I have to go there because I already got my visa.
All right,
So
good.
I have to go there in the United States and participate with
have
you
to do that.
because I need to get more memories with all of you in this sport.
Well, the
Yeah,
thing about it
there's-
is, our doors may be closing here in this
It's never
chapter,
gonna close,
but there's another chapter
Yeah.
because living in Alabama, we live right on the lake. We have our own muelle, we have our own boats, we have miles and miles and miles of
and
water.
we've already had how many kids come to the United States to
Yeah.
to paddle? I took a team to New York. You
Yeah, I
know
know.
that.
I remember.
And we would have loved
And
for
they
you to
got
have been
second
there.
place in a group that was almost impossible for them to get second place. But because of their drive and what they learned, they became the heroes of that race.
Yeah.
They were the heroes.
Go
they had
Panama,
they had
go
more
Panama.
cheerleaders than
Than
anybody,
anybody else.
So I cannot go there.
else.
No, you'll just be another Panamanian like we are. We're all Panama.
No,
all-
but,
we had our
but you
flag.
know why I say that. So I don't
Yeah.
have to go there.
Yeah.
No.
We had all our flags, our Panamanian flags. Everybody was in there, and we got more cheers than anybody.
We had our shirts that had Panama flags on the back of them and stuff. People stopped us everywhere. It's a community. Paddlers are
Paddlers
a community. That is what it is. And that's the one thing I tried to tell so many of the kids down here for the years. If you've never paddled anywhere else except Panama, then you're missing out.
Mm.
Because the thing about it is, we made a community in Gamboa. We made a community in Gamboa. Families, I mean mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and de primos y de todo, estaban aquí mismo en Gamboa con nosotros y sus hijos o hijas, lo que sea. But the thing about it is that you have never paddled really as a paddler, not a cayuquero.
Mm.
Cayuquero is a paddler, but you've never been really paddling until you paddle in a community of paddlers that has,
But they're building a
600
community here in this
participants.
country. I
and
think
that's what we need to
going.
start here. We need to start a community of paddlers that all work together, not separately, all work together to motivate the younger generation because too many of those kids are sedentary. In other words, they're in the house, they're in school, and they're not doing anything, and their lives are going to suffer
But that's what
going
you're
forward.
bringing. So that's what's
That's
helping.
what you're doing, and you're bringing all of those. And Dragon Boat is involved in
I
that
love
as well.
the dragon boats, but I never
You know,
got to
and
race
so-
one. In the States, I've been in them racing, but not ever here in Panama. And I was like, it'd be nice.
Well, in
So-
in June 1 and 2, we're gonna have the race of Dragon Ball. You can come
Yeah,
and
there you go.
participate with
There
us.
you
We have a real good group called Canal Dragon. Those
Wow.
are the girls that made all the videos for them as well.
That's cool.
wow.
That's
So
cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So Jay and Llori, I think this is the end of this interview, and I wanna tell you thank you for all the things that you do, and well, we have to tell them that we're gonna have a lot of video with all of you as well in another situation. Maybe there in the United States participate, or maybe when you have
It'd be
time,
nice.
You blow up
You girls
Instagram.
are all
Yeah.
invited.
or maybe when you have come here to just to have a vacation. as
Yeah,
well.
there you go. There we go. We'll just set up days where we can paddle.
Yeah. Well, see you, buddies. Nos vemos. Ha sido un reto grande para mí hablar en inglés. Chuleta con
Yeah,
papa frita
bien
contigo.
práctica.
Wow,
Chuleta, man.
Yeah.
Chuleta.
Con
Jay's,
papa
Jay's,
frita.
Jay's.
That's your phrase.
Chuleta.